It's very easy to meditate using the power of the mind and allowing the mind to flow towards the divine. So I'll speak out my own thoughts in meditation and invite everyone to join me. I let the body sit quietly, and I can feel the body relaxing, my breath becoming deeper, and now I focus on my thoughts. The speed of my thoughts has slowed down, and I focus on the inner being that I am. I am a being of light, shining in the center of the forehead. This body is separate. I, the inner being, am separate. I existed before the body took shape, and I will continue to exist even after the body finishes. No beginning, no end. I, the eternal spirit, and in this awareness of who I truly am, my thoughts focus on the divine, a being of light, the Supreme. From the source of love, the waves of love reach out, I absorb these within myself. And the waves of love reach out further and further afield, and the power of love surrounds the world. And the power of God's love heals. Souls have been carrying the burden of sorrow for a long time, and God's love removes the burden and heals the pain. The power of God's love melts the heart, so that the heart can forgive and let go. And the soul feels liberation. Holding on to the things of the past has been a burden that I did not realize. And the power of God's love allows me to remove that burden and be able to forgive and become free. God's love touches souls and they continue on their journey, feeling the power of God's company. I hold peace and love, and my thoughts return to the physical dimension. But I carry this experience with me, and this experience impacts my thinking, my speaking, and my doing. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, everyone. Good evening and welcome for our day 2 session of our foundation course. That meditation, what you just did, that was our sister Jayanti. Some of you might already know her, and some of you might be seeing her first time. But she is one of the most, very, very senior sister, and she is in charge of the European region. She also works with the UN from Geneva, very closely, the UN sector, which works from Geneva. So yesterday, the topic was on the mind, intellect, and subconscious, right? And there were a lot of questions coming up. So Sister Rona had a thought that maybe we should open the floor for questions from you guys directly. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute all of you. And then you guys can just open your mic one at a time and ask questions from Sister Rona directly. Does that sound good? And we'll appreciate if you keep your videos on, if you're not uncomfortable, or if there is no restrictions as such. It'll be nice. It'll give more like a class feel, right? They're not muted. Oh. Can anyone try unmuting themselves? I think you guys can unmute themselves.
I believe.
Sister Sonia, can you unmute? Yes. Yeah.
I believe mine is on mute.
Yeah, if yours is unmuted, then everyone's is unmuted too. I can just keep the video on the speaker's view for Sister Rona only. So, but all of you can talk to Sister Rona directly. There was a question yesterday by a brother, I think.
Is the sound there now? Yes.
Yes, Sister Rona. Its sound is there.
So maybe we can start with that question you had yesterday, and then
Yeah.
you can pick it
So
up.
the question was, when the thought of ice cream comes, it's usually unconsciously we say yes to it. The question is, if we are conscious, then we can take the decision. So how to bring that into consciousness?
It is get that. Thought is unconscious because already an impression has formed. The first few times, it is really like actively in the mind, but then it becomes a deeper impression in the subconscious. So then it appears that it is unconscious. But still, even if the thought if it is kind of unconscious, to act on it, there has to be an active thought. I want ice cream. Otherwise, you won't go to the fridge and pull out ice cream or go out and buy. No? So there has to be some level of conscious activity. But it is pushed from the impression in the subconscious. Agreed. So you don't have to create a whole lots of thoughts about it because the impression is already there. But some part has to be conscious for you to put it into action, to use the body to go and buy and to eat it. And that is where the intellect can say yes or no to it. Every action that we perform, there is some moment of decision. Even if it is habitual, there is still a moment of decision. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to eat it. So just before it becomes an action, there is this conscious thought. Let me go get it. So it is, once it is put into action, there is a part of it that is conscious. So whatever the impression is here in the subconscious, for us to act on it, it goes through that awakened, alert, conscious state. So you don't need to actually do anything for that. You just need to recognize. I should not, I don't want to eat ice cream, or I want to. And then interfere. Any other?
This is your opportunity to ask questions.
Yeah, maybe we should have announced yesterday so that they could have prepared a bit more. But any question about meditation or about this image? No, and it is good for yourself to use this for yourself. Make a small sketch and to remind yourself. It helps to remember. Or about the meditation, about this, you can get a feel of
Sister Rona,
the world.
can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So if we have the intellect is not, doesn't have the decision-making power and is weak, the thought of the ice cream comes, and we have eaten a lot of ice cream during our life. And so even though the intellect wants to stop the situation, it can't do it. And every time that there is failure in that, there's every time that we in this war between eating the ice cream and not eating the ice cream, we lose. We feel like more like a loser. We feel the self-respect and self-confidence goes down. How do we make the intellect stronger after having had a lot of impression in that has been created?
Yeah. We have said before, not that the real self is the king, the real self, the soul, the real self is a pure being of consciousness. The real self is a being that is secure, a being that is peaceful, a being that is God-like in nature. And this being comes here and then starts to create attachments and egos at this level, and then gets trapped in desires and expectations. And once we're trapped, then we feel like that. Now, what we need to do is remember again what we truly are. Because in our subconscious, there are also impressions, even though they are pushed down, there are also impressions, and you could say memories, and they may be deep in the subconscious, but memories and impressions of the soul world. There are memories and impressions of ourselves as beings that are innocent and clean and childlike and peaceful and pure. Those impressions are also there. Just they have been pushed down and to the back. And other bullies have come here and they push them even further down. No? So what happens is ice cream, ice cream, ice cream. That is like big bully here and big bully here. But one way to strengthen the intellect is to actively remind ourselves of the big picture. There was a time when the real self was in that state of purity and peace and harmony internally. That is why we long for that. We long for that feeling of love and belonging and that feeling of joy and feeling secure and feeling free. We long for that because those impressions, what we are in need, is still there and also trying to send signals to us. That is why we long for peace, or we long for love, or we long for a joy that lasts. And so to give this, to acknowledge it with our intellect, to acknowledge, yes, of course I have all these habits and acquired false ideas and desires over time created. The true self, the inner being, is this peaceful, free, joyful, spiritual being of light, child of the Supreme, who belongs to that soul world and has come from there in this physical world. And to acknowledge that for ourselves. Just in the beginning, it is just acknowledgement and playing with that and trying to see for ourselves what would be our mind if we would fully experience that. Be a being who is timeless and immortal. A being who is absolutely secure for minutes. A minute here, a minute there, a minute here, a minute there. And you strengthen this one. But what happened, what you're saying is we thought of ice cream comes and it doesn't stay. These thoughts don't stay. And you want to not have thoughts of ice cream, but they still come. And then we say, oh, you are what? You are worth nothing. You weakling, or whatever, all kinds of things we say to ourselves. Huh? And that is, we kind of have sanskars created to talk ourselves down and to focus on what we fail at. No? To also acknowledge that and to say, fine, that habit has been there, but there is a part within me that is pure and clean. And although that part has become very small, I can make it big again by giving it attention, by giving it nurturing, by allowing myself to think of myself in that way. And even if thought of ice cream comes in between, you say, okay, fine, but not now, later. Now I'm trying to nurture this. And this tendency to focus on what is not right, what is not successful, it is not helpful in our process. Aim to see a bigger picture and to acknowledge that spiritual root of who we truly are. And remind yourself of that again and again and again and again. Because we have forgotten truly all of this. And not only forgotten, we have ignored it and maybe even denied it. And just to acknowledge that again, yes, there is that pristine, innate, childlike and godlike part within. It just needs air to breathe, to come to life again. And then the other thing is, in just now Sister Jayanti's commentary, part of the commentary was experiencing the company of God and experiencing that love from God. The Supreme Soul loves all the children, all. And more I allow myself to perceive that, to open up to that, that strengthens the intellect and that strengthens our conviction, you could say, about who we truly are. How looking at the self through God's, as if eyes, you could say. And to consistently do that, but not aim for hours and hours, a minute here, a minute there, a minute here, and a minute there. That breaks the spell of these bullies who are telling you you are worth nothing and you are whatever those bullies are telling you. Those are as if acquired ideas. No, this week we were using this image of in the jewel business, when people are dealing with gold. No, pure gold is very soft and even liquid if it is at high heat. No? And when the alloy gets in, it becomes harder and the shine becomes different also. So first they put in alloy silver, and then they mix in copper, and then they mix in iron, and the value grows less. It becomes weaker. But that pure gold is still in there. It is just mixed with a lot of rubbish. And the same way, pure gold, soul, innately, originally, pure gold. But then these acquired beliefs and attachments and all these egos and all these false identities have started to mix in. And that gold, that pure gold, has as if gone far back. And now meditation and remembrance and acknowledging this pure gold of who we truly are regularly, with a certain clarity and with a certain concentration and with a certain conviction, repeatedly reminding the self of the spiritual, true beauty and greatness of the self, even though there are layers on top. That is fine. We are now trying to get to the essence of our being. And that compulsive ice cream eating is acquired. It is actually because we haven't been in touch with that pure core and that pure essence for such a long time. So let me allow myself to experience those higher and those more refined feelings, even if it is just for a minute or two. And that will give more strength and power to the intellect also to say, not now, ice cream, maybe tomorrow or maybe next week. But
Yes,
also to adopt this attitude of what is the word, sport or hobby to get these alloy. You understand the word alloy? Rubbish, to get it out. Let that be our hobby. To come back to this pure gold again and to see it as a game. And we're on the journey, and it doesn't mean we have to be 100% pure, perfect tomorrow, but we are on track and we are having the right tools.
Sister Rona, that was wonderful, and thank you so much for the answer. When we have this feeling of emptiness, you said that the reason why we have these compulsions is because we are not in touch with our true and original qualities, and these feelings sometimes come, the feeling of emptiness and feeling of not being happy inside, and we try to find a happy moment with the ice cream. But in those moments, how can we instead of passing through that and go to a higher level of consciousness, so that we can have this experience that is really fulfilling the soul?
One thing that is useful is start from that clean state of mind. No? we can, there are, maybe I should try and explain a little differently. Grossly, there are two models to life or of life that people in the world have. No? One model is, if this is the moment of birth, we live, and this is the moment of death. No? So this model, and we consciously or subconsciously adopt this model, and most of us never ever properly rationalizes or think of it, but we live with this psychological model and idea of life and of ourselves. And we come in this world and we think we are nothing. And we are no one. And this is kind of how we are programmed from the beginning. Okay, we are this cute little baby. But deeper inside, the message that we get from our environment, from our parents, from television, you are nothing and no one. And you only become someone by acquiring things, by doing things and getting things. No, you have to learn to speak, you have to learn to look in a certain way and dress up in a certain way, and you have to study, and you have to acquire wealth, you have to acquire relationships, you have to get married, then you will be someone. Then you will have something. You have to do certain things, you have to achieve certain things, then you become someone. And then at the end, all of that will be left behind. So this is one model to life. Can you see how this model inevitably sooner or later will make us melancholic or feel anxious or feel empty? No? And if we don't achieve, or if we achieve and we lose, or if we acquire and but not to the standard that we think we should acquire, what is our sense of self, and where is our sense of self-respect? At the most, it fluctuates. When we acquire, we feel great, and when it becomes old or broken or is not that desirable anymore, then we feel less. Now, spirituality says you are a complete being as a soul. You are an immortal being as a given. You are a God-like in nature. You have come from the soul world. You, the soul, not the invisible guest, the invisible traveler. You belong to God, and you have as if God's spiritual DNA. And you need nothing truly to exist. Immortal being, pure being of consciousness. And taking birth just means that for a short period of time, there will be a body that you associate with. But you, the soul, don't need anything, not even from the body. You exist regardless. And then you go through life, and in this model, the spiritual model, life is extra. It is an extra experience, or it is an extra play, or an extra journey, or an extra game even. But soul remains the soul throughout the journey, regardless of what is being achieved through the body or acquired through the body. And all of that will finish at the end. But you, the God-like being of light, the divine being, the soul, remain the soul forever. A being who is innately peaceful, who is innately secure and free. And you will just go back to the soul world at the end of the journey. And whatever happens on this physical experience, it is extra. It is an extra gift. It is an extra experience. And if we come into this model, then that feeling of emptiness and neediness and not having and not wanting will not be there. It is nice extra. Understand? And so the journey, the spiritual journey, one who becomes a yogi and a spiritual student, the aim is to shift from this model to this model. And not as a intellectual or academic exercise, but as a certain obvious internal conviction. Yes, this is the real self, and this is what life is all about. But what happens is we gradually forget the true self. We gradually, on this journey, we gradually forget the home. We forget the Supreme Soul, God. We forget the family of souls. We forget our own true nature. We forget that we are guests here. We forget that we are travelers. And we start to create a sense of identity here. I am a body. I am a male or female. I am white or brown or black. I am rich or poor. I am American or I am Russian or Indian. And we start to create identities on things that are temporary and changing. And we create attachments here. And so our sense of self and our sense of life exclude this now. And all these egos and these false identities have their desires and their needs. And they are limited, based on limited things. So meditation is the journey, Raj Yoga is the journey to come out of this limited sense of identities, out of all these egos. Whilst in the physical world, whilst using the body, not identifying with it. And what happens on this journey is when we come from the soul world, we come full. This is the soul full, peaceful, pure, clean, wise, innocent, playful, secure, happy. And with this internal frame of mind, we approach the physical world. We approach this body, we approach everything in the physical world. And we think, oh, this is nice. Nice. We respect it, we appreciate it, you acknowledge it, and you play with the body. Nice. Play. But after some time in the journey, what happens with us? Let's say there is something, there's a table here, and we say, oh, this table is nice. This table is very nice. This table is very, 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 very nice. What happens with us? What is the next step in our tendency?
Attachment.
Action? What action?
Attachment.
Not yet attachment. We say, this is nice. This is, yeah, kind of an attachment grows, but Well, the tendency that happens. Say your
You what?
I want. Yeah,
Okay.
very good. We start saying I want. And I want to have.
Mine.
Sorry. Hello? Can you still hear me? Something went
Yes, Sister Rona. Voice is good. It's
wrong. And so this is the moment when we as if cross a certain line. And you can't call that line, we are crossing the line of ignorance. Because we are spiritual beings, we have come in this world, we are guests. We have come and we will leave. And we can joy and we can play and we can share and we can care and we can appreciate and we can love, but we cannot
Own.
own. Very good. Even this body, we cannot truly own this body. Although we are using it, although we are looking after it, although we are caring for it, although we are the only one looking after it and using it, this body belongs to nature and it has been given to me on loan. And so at some stage in time, the soul has crossed this line into guest consciousness and traveler consciousness and appreciating and playfulness and experiencing, and everything is nice and respecting it. We come into I want it. And I want to own things. No, and then after a while, we convince ourselves, I need to own it. I can't do without it. I can't exist without it. This is how we lose our peace. Here we were peaceful and playful and joyful. And here, the moment I start wanting, I can be deprived. And so a little peacelessness emerges. I need even more peacelessness because now I believe I can't do without it. And this state, I want to have, I need, creates, this is what is called desires. We want something, desiring something. And the state of desires deprives you from your peace. The state of desires also takes you away from your experience of fullness. Now, to give a simplified example, when Rona was very young, growing up was born in Europe, but growing up was in the Caribbean, South America, tropics. So where we lived, it was warm climate all the time. And so Rona used to not like shoes. Not at all. I used to feel that shoes are like jail for my feet. And so school was the only place that it was compulsory to wear shoe, but any other time without shoes, and even slippers I would not really like, and playing bare feet and doing all kinds and forgetting slippers and not liking shoes. But then growing up, when you get age of 13, 14, and then your friends start telling me, no, you have to wear shoes and you have to have shoes and you have to have different colored shoes and you have to have shoes with heels and with all different things. Otherwise, all kinds of funny things. You will not get married if you're not wearing shoes. All this talk. So different ideas are coming now. And after a while, I start thinking, Yeah, I really need shoes. And from that moment on, it became like a very unpleasant battle with mother to get new shoes every time and different shoes every time and different color shoes every time. That joyful, innocent, carefree nature had left me. Now there was this constant desires. And this is just one area, simple area, shoes. And how many shoes can you anyway use? You have 2, 3 pairs is already much. You only have 2 feet. But then in the mind grows, I need, I want, I need. Without shoes, I'm nothing. Everybody will laugh at me. I will be a failure. All kinds of funny things happen with us. But it is, I crossed that line. And then shoes became the boss in my mind. It is to simplify the dynamics. And we take it even a step further. It's not just I need, which is, and then say we get it. I get a new pair of shoes. So I'm on top of the world. New pair of shoes. How long? For 2, 3 weeks, I'm inseparable with that shoe. And then somebody says, that is a funny shoe. What will happen? I'll get annoyed. I might even get irritated and depressed. What happened? I have created an attachment to that shoes. If I can't find it, I will do anything to get it. And not only an attachment, I have started to identify with the shoe. I have created an ego or an identity based upon the shoe. So one person who says, oh, I don't like that shoe, funny shoe, I will get angry. Because deeper inside, I feel that shoe is part of me. Anything happen to that shoe, I feel as if it is happening to me. And we call this the spiral of spiritual ignorance. And we get gradually sucked into this. And it's not only with shoes, it is with all kinds of objects, with body, with position, with ideas, with people. We get sucked in. And we completely forgot the true essence of who we are and what we have come here to do. And also what happens, deeper we are down in this spiral, more we are fearful and anxious to not get, and if we got, then to lose. And so if we have it, we are now fearful to lose. So what is our solution? We want more. But more we have, more we can lose. So more anxious I am, so more I want. This is why you sometimes see people have so much, but still they want more, and they want more, and they want more, even though they already have so much. Because deeper inside is this looming monster, I can lose, which is based on a false idea in the first place. Because truly, we cannot own anything in this world. We can use it, we can enjoy it, we can play with it, we can be a trustee, but we can't really own anything. And if I can't own anything, if I can't even own this body, then how can I own anyone else? Because that is another big area where we like to get into all these sticky attachments and identifications and desperations and desires. And we create through in our own mind, we create as if hell for ourselves. Now, we don't need to sit and dissect at each and every attachment, this attachment, this ego, that ego. This impression, that impression, all these egos and attachments, they are different impressions here. We don't have to sit and dissect this one and this one and this one, and I have to take rid of this one. We will be forever busy with that. And you take out one, another one may emerge. And you take out one, and there are 20 others. And there may be many we are not even aware of anymore. But what Raj Yoga says, you take a shortcut. Whatever you do notice, you don't feed it, but you consciously nurture that pure gold essence of who you are by strengthening the intellect through spiritual wisdom, by letting the intellect create conscious thoughts of the self as that pure, peaceful, free, invisible, immortal being of light. And even if it is just a minute, even if it's just half a minute, but do it wholeheartedly with that deeper conviction. Yes, the essence of who we are is beautiful and great. Let that truth as if sink in. Let that the beauty of the subtle spiritual self wake up within us again. And see it as a beautiful game, a beautiful journey. And use the different themes, no, to help yourself to wake up to all of that again. Remember the silence of the home, the light, and the feeling of belonging and security, timelessness. Remember, accurately remember the Supreme Soul as an ocean of love, as an ocean of peace, who knows the bigger picture always. The more you consciously choose to think about these things, you are nurturing the gold within the self and not allowing the alloy to rule the mind. You are strengthening the intellect. Even if you do it 3 times a day for a few minutes, the end of the day intellect is stronger. This is stronger. And this is a little weaker. You still have to be alert and attentive to do it again and again and again. But that is how you break through. This is the process of meditation.
This is the paras intellect, using the paras intellect.
Yeah.
Starting with I, the soul, am perfect, and not I have to become, the role has to become perfect.
Acknowledge the real self, the essence. And it is shifting from this model to this model.
Sister Rona, yes, you were talking about the shoes, and then it reminds me a situation. How can I not let that situation bothers me, upset me when I see that on somebody else? You understand? Like my best friend, she has that situation with the shoes. And she tell me, I'm gonna go and buy her shoes. It already upset me because I know she has millions pairs of shoes. And then she calls me back, oh, I didn't buy only one, I bought 3. and upsets me even more.
Hmm. Truly, no, this knowledge is
Mhm.
for ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah. And we can only truly apply it for ourselves. And ultimately, the journey is my own, and each one has their own individual journey. But having said that, um, our internal clarity, our peace, our transformation may inspire others. Our deeper contentment, our simplicity, it may inspire others. But that is all we can truly do. And not to try and change others or preach, but to live the change ourselves. And that is powerful. That is like a light. And others will see that light. And then they will choose what they will do with that or not. Even if it is our best friend, even if it is our partner, they still have their own journey.
But I feel like because now I learned that, and when I see it bothers me, I should not be like that. I should separate and just be in peace.
No, in essence, there is a certain nobility because you are feeling a certain liberation and a certain deeper joy, and you want others to experience that also. It's
Right.
understandable.
Yes.
But everyone has to come to their own conclusions and their own journey.
Okay.
But seeing me, they could, what is
Hmm.
the word? They might feel inspired.
Right. Okay. Thank you, sister.
Did I tell the story of the eagle and the chicken to this
Yes.
group?
The flying?
No, to this group.
Oh.
Anyone remembers?
I have heard it so
Seeing
many times.
Drew, did you hear this story of the chicken and the eagle? Okay, so then
No, ma'am.
then let me tell this story before we close. There is a eagle's egg that got mixed with the chicken's egg. And mother chicken, she doesn't discriminate. All eggs, she's happy. She breeds and all these chicks hatch. And she teaches all of them how to be good chicken. And they have to say cook, 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 cook. They have to look for grains and worms. And they have to sleep in the chicken coop. So one day this little one walks in the yard and he's looking for grains and worms, and there is a big shadow on the ground. And so he looks up and he sees this big bird in the sky, majestic, flying. And he says, wow. And he asks his brother, what is that? And the brother says, that is the king of the birds. He's eagle, condor, and he flies in the sky. He plays with the clouds. He flies over the mountains. He sees the ocean. King. And his little one says, I also want to fly. And his brother says, no, 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 no. We are chicken. We are birds of the ground. We cannot fly. Come. We have to look for grains and worms. So this little one, fascinated, tries to flap his wings and he goes up, but there's no training, so he falls. He goes up and he falls. He goes up and he falls. And his brother says, hey, dummy, come here. Didn't I tell you we are chicken? We cannot fly. Leave these dreams. Come, we have to look for grains and worms and we sleep in the chicken coop. So the little one looks at the bird, looks at his brother, he looks at the bird and he looks at his brother and he thinks, I am a chicken. I cannot fly. So he goes with his brother and he sleeps in the chicken coop and he lives like a chicken, he thinks like a chicken, he feels like a chicken, he has relationship of chicken and he has dreams and aspirations of a chicken. But he was the eagle's egg. And so he could fly. So if he tries, he will fly. And he will find and experience the world of the eagle. And if he would want to, then he can come on the ground and play with the chicken also. But then he would have a choice to fly and be with the eagles and to come on the ground and to play with the chicken. But in the first scenario, he is the eagle, but he is convinced he is a chicken. So he is bound to the limitations of that chicken consciousness and that chicken life. Now, we are in that similar position. We are angels' eggs, you could say. We are God's children. But we make one mistake. What is that mistake?
We forgot.
We listen to the chicken. And there are many chicken out there telling you you're a chicken, but there are also many chicken in here telling you you are chicken, you are chicken, you are chicken. But just seeing the eagle wakes up as if this part, seeing the king of kings, the birds, it wakes up this part in us because it is there. No? And this is how we can inspire each other. But this is also what happens when we start remembering God, the Supreme Soul, in an accurate and clean way. It is like remembering that pure, divine, spiritual self again. And it nurtures here. What has happened is that we also have entered into all kinds of limited and false ideas about God. And we say he gets angry and he creates war and he makes us sick and whatever. But that is not God's doing. We will enter into that tomorrow. The law of karma. Our own actions lead to certain results and consequences. And we then have projected that on God. But to truly understand the Supreme Soul as one who is forever wise and zero sorrow, zero ignorance, zero malice, zero vices, one who is like an ocean of love. And just thinking of someone like that nurtures this already. It is like seeing the eagle, thinking of the eagle. It nurtures the eagle within. And in our case, the angel. Yeah. So get a little deeper insight into what this journey is all about. Okay, time flies as always. Let's close with a moment of silence, and tomorrow we will spend a bit more time on a meditation and we will go into the law of karma. And so just take a minute and withdraw the attention from the external and as if jump in that awareness. The real self is a spiritual being, invisible traveler, immortal, free, being of peace. Om Shanti. See you
Namaste.
again tomorrow.
Rona.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.